let's get it. All right, y'all. So, I want to take this time to go ahead and thank everybody for tuning in today. I really appreciate all you guys for watching this podcast, mainly because this is something that's close and near and dear to my heart. Okay, let me go ahead and read my speech here. All right, I want to take this time to thank and welcome everyone to Cosmo's Astrogem talk show. I'm your host, Sia, or Cosmo. Either one will do. This live stream provides an open environment, an open atmosphere for our main topics here on the show: sex, love, astrology, and tarot, and many, many more, of course. We'd even like to throw in some science as well when we can. And having these discussions, we hope to discover new and exciting perspectives of our inner, most intimate parts of our human makeup. On this show, I talk a lot about the matters to do with the heart: sex, love, philosophy. I feel like it's a brilliant combination of fun and intriguing concepts. It brings up intriguing concepts because what I had noticed is that they all go hand in hand in such a beautiful way. I mean, these are like the main three questions, love, sex, astrology. In my mind, that's just kind of what I kind of see those topics to be. They're questions, they're door openers. And what I feel like is that they create such a beautiful blend. It just creates such a beautiful blend. Now, a quick disclaimer, which is quite a perfect topic for our first episode. I wanted to clarify what I mean by philosophy on the show. Well, while I do plan on having philosophers on the show at some point, of course that's later down the line, and I want to talk to more people that still philosophize. May not be like huge media moguls, people that are not super recognized, but people that do have valid points and perspectives that honestly I feel like do deserve being heard. Besides having all those, having a philosopher on the show eventually, the main philosophy of the show will be centered around astrology. This would then technically mean that the show is about love, sex, and astrology. However, how I use astrology opens doors to several philosophies used all over the world. The concepts that engulf astrology are unlimited. For instance, Greek mythology and Christianity are sometimes used to describe certain archetypes of astrology. I found that this expansion of astrology has encouraged me to have a deeper understanding of circumstances in life and relationships and politics, nature, and even spirituality. Personally, I have no preference to religion, nor is there a philosophy I align myself with that isn't one of my own compilation of my findings. What I found, the amount of interesting viewpoints I've encountered, and even we'll discuss and find out from you guys, and we'll research together, has broadened my perspective so much that's made me feel like there's a lot more simplicity in the world than we realize. The patterns in which I saw consistently through my journey with tarot and astrology were remarkable, and yet they are, from my opinion and analysis, a theoretically structured, mystically energetic tool and pseudoscience. The misconception about tarot and astrology are as ambiguous as walking around in your room. Walking around in a room you're unfamiliar with, that's also like happens to be pitch black. Like, it's just like, imagine walking through in a room and you don't know what's up, right? That's immediately what astrology kind of gives a vibe of. You go in, but you don't have any idea. You have no idea what any of it means, what any of it looks like, what does it entail, what's the depths of it. And darkness, in my eyes, from what I've learned from astrology and tarot mostly, not so much astrology, but from tarot, is that darkness has its purpose. Hi, Ravynne. That's my girl right here, Ravynne Fire. If you guys haven't followed her on YouTube yet, do so. She's an amazing reader. And she did a personal reading for me before, blew my socks off, and got super triggered, and probably, like, she knows I disappeared. I was like, okay, yeah, that was good. that's just what happens with tarot. It brings the truth to the door. It brings the truth to the door. It shows us something that we may not have noticed or recognized, right? Sometimes we're so close to the elephant, we need a perspective that looks at the entire thing, the entire elephant. And I feel that's what astrology does. So if you haven't followed Ravynne yet, please do that, because she's amazing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the reasons for the lack of trust regarding a tarot and astrology, in my opinion, I feel like this is for everyone, but I feel like especially in the religious community, just based off of anecdotal evidence and what I've experienced with people, and especially my family members that happen to be very religious themselves. I've noticed that there may not be a lot of information accessible from trusted sources for them. Like, for instance, it's not by a well-known pastor or someone that was a preacher, someone that you could trust regarding the religious preferences that you have. So I feel like for a lot of people, they don't adventure, at least, I'm not saying religious people don't venture out and explore, because they do, but I feel like the reason why there is maybe some mistrust between astrology, tarot, and religious communities may just be that there is just this wall where there's no reliable liaison, right? So that's kind of what I feel like, regarding that. But I feel like that barrier, though, which is the past, is being broken. I don't think that everybody's thinking or feeling the same way about astrology or tarot, even in religious communities anymore, because I feel like their religious energy, they're drawn to the energy that's being picked up from tarot and astrology. It's one and the same, actually, which I'll get to that in a moment. Tarot and astrology only reference to energies that that currently exist and that we manipulate naturally, like I was just saying. Mainly, meaning tarot and astrology doesn't dabble in witchcraft, voodoo, or bad juju unless you're the one with the juju practicing witchcraft, or so on, right? So, literally, there's literally nothing wrong with tarot. Coming from my experience, and I have been a Christian in my life for a second, there's nothing wrong with it. And the reason why is because if you understand what tarot uses, which is the energy that's around us all the time, that we use all the time, that we dabble in all the time, or take advantage of us all the time, you'll know that there's nothing really wrong with tarot. You have to be careful with how you use it, because again, it is manipulating with energy, but at the same time, the tool is not bad outright. So that is one of the biggest things I wanted to say about tarot, and mainly because it's enriching my life in such a huge way. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but Aquarian Insight was the person that got me into tarot first, and she helped me to have a better understanding and have a better outlook, because my outlook when I first entered the world as an adult, it was closed-minded. It was very judgmental, and to some degree, I'm not gonna say I'm a god now and I'm perfectly crystal clear, clean now. No, I have instances where I do judge. I have instances where I am still human, right? Where I still make those small I wouldn't say errors, but the things that would improve myself for me. There's things I do need to work on, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as any reason to say that what I'm saying to you should not be taken seriously, or should be taken with a grain of salt. Of course, yes, always take everything that anyone says with a grain of salt, but I feel like from me coming from a human place, and from you guys coming to sitting with me and just chilling out today, being human, that's enough. That's the biggest message to me. That's the biggest reason for anything to ever matter. The fact that we're here together to learn and to explore together. Because at the end of the day, whether we're ignorant, whether we're judgmental, whether we're racist, whatever, right? We could be all the labels that people don't like about us, all the negative stuff. It don't fucking matter here. Okay? In this show, it don't matter who you are. Be who you are, be all that you are, and just come and be authentic. because at the end of the day, we're exploring together. It don't matter what your colorful background is. It doesn't matter what mine is. So, which is why I'm excited to have the show, because I'm going to be talking about love, sex, and astrology, but I'm also going to be tapping into other things like, you know, connecting with people, relationship dynamics. Like, we're going to be talking about, we're even going to be talking about the planets. So, I am totally excited for this whole show right now, because it's going to bring a lot of people together, and I really feel that. Mainly just because I'm curious and I want to take y'all with me on this journey with me. Okay. So, aside from that, and I had literally just brewed myself some tea. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's in the back here. But yes. So, like, for instance, like, if anybody has dabbled into Reiki or have played around with Reiki a little bit, or they are like legit Reiki masters, please excuse me if I do not get it 100% correct, but Reiki is something that my mother and my sister have done. They've mastered it, and a lot of things that they've told me, I have, of course, absorbed and taken into account for my daily life. And as well as, of course, a lot of other people that have taught me things about astrology and about Reiki, that I carry on to use in my day-to-day life, right? For those of you that do know what Reiki is, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't, Reiki, I believe, is the practice in which energy can be used to heal the body. It realigns chakra energies and focus desired energy for specific and personal uses. Is a like, you are the channel in which energy flows. Of course, in my perspective, and then a lot of people won't agree with this, but this is just strictly my perspective, that the energy isn't necessarily coming from nothing. You're getting the energy from somewhere, and the energy is not necessarily drummed up. It's the gathering of what's available to you, and it's accessible to you at that moment. Whether it's you, whether it's outside, being connected to the earth. That, in my eyes, and that, in my opinion, from what I understood from astrology, from Reiki, is that's what that is. So that's no different from tarot. No different. Not necessarily. Like, there's no hand touching, right? There's no transferring energy that tarot does. But what tarot does is it gives us a picture of what the energy is communicating to us, to get a better idea as to what we may or may not need to hear, or may or may not need to, may or may not see, and may or may not notice, but we do need to hear, because I feel like tarot always tells us what we need to hear, even if we're not really ecstatic about the message. Okay, so that being said, right, using that kind of comparison with Reiki and tarot, there's, like, if you notice, there's no real difference between the two. They both use energies that exist in this plane, that have nothing to do with anything wicked or anything voodoo-like, right? Nothing bad. And that's what I want to get people to understand. It's same with astrology too. That's what I would love to share with the world, with my perspective, and especially how I use it as well, which we're going to get into the topic of too eventually. So, I'm drawing blanks here. This is my first podcast, so bear with me. Yeah, so tarot has the capacity to heal as much as it can create issues. It deals with, it depends on its user and what the tarot reader's intentions are. This triggers another rant, actually, about the perspective of black and white, but that's a topic for another time. Astrology takes into account the existence, but not limited to necessarily, energies, and provides a platform that describes that's designed to explore and consider different concepts and characteristics from philosophies, religions, and even astronomical points or perspectives, or astronomical facts, to a lesser degree. Like they have components, astronomical components, I should say. They don't necessarily explain or go like hand in hand with astronomy to say scientifically, but they do take characteristics, qualities, and to help explain or to describe astrology a lot better, if that makes sense. Everything is a tool everything is a tool. Like, astrology in a way has created it's like a platform, like I said, or it's or a tool, like I've been using. It's a tool to use what you know in a way that kind of blends them all together. Blends everything together. Energies, science, astronomy, psychology. Like, all those things are just like blended in together. It's not a science though. It's a pseudoscience, like I mentioned, but it's in a very interesting way. It blends it all. Which is actually where it gets to like the more exciting parts, where we talk about the breakdown of astrology, all the components of astrology, all the areas in which astrology can shed light on, especially, like, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but when you go into the outside world and you're impacted by certain triggers and certain things that kind of set you off, you're just kind of like, why is this happening? Well, if the astrology can tell you sometimes. And I'm saying that it's going to depict and explain to you who you are, because it's not necessarily meant to tell you who you're supposed to be, but it can help to bridge gaps between certain realities, so to speak, to help bridge gaps between certain perspectives. It's very similar to tarot, which is why tarot ain't bad. So so it's like, if we're all going to say that tarot and astrology is bad, then we have to say that a hammer is bad. We have to say that a wrench is bad, right? A hammer could be used to build something as beautiful as a birdhouse, but it could also be a weapon. You can knock somebody out with that, or you could destroy someone else's creation or destroy your own. It can be used for good and bad, which is why, again, that black and white conversation, I'm trying my best to push it off to the side, but it keeps coming back in, which is why astrology in my eyes is such a powerful tool for me in my life, because it reminds me that everything is nothing and nothing is everything. It's so wild. I know that, especially even that phrase, right? It's like, what does that even mean? Nothing is nothing. Nothing is everything and everything is nothing. Well, mainly because that, with it, like I said, with astrology, everything is combined. I mean, when you use it, you notice everything isn't as different or as complicated as we think. It's complicated because we make it complicated. Once we notice where we're making the complication, shit gets real simple. It gets really simple. And that's the part where we all need to be, like, or where we all would like to be, right? Because I don't think anyone should or needs to learn astrology. If you're literally coming in here because it's entertaining and it's fun to know astrology, and not trying to be an astrology like guru thing, right? Or someone that's like super enthusiastic like me with astrology, don't. Please, just enjoy it, right? Because at the end of the day, whatever you get out of it is important to you. So that should never ever be like, it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So, if these are just tools with no offset of a certain moral or orientation, why aren't they more accepted in religious communities? Or why isn't this more mainstream if it's got uses that could benefit me or benefit you, right? It's easy to research things you're curious about and slightly interested in, but I find with our fast-paced world, the time nor the amount of interest is what's driving people to read, learn, explore more about a ton of different subjects, not just astrology. I'm sure the thought of them seems interesting at first, but then we get busy and push off the research so far. Sometimes we lose interest in it entirely and chalk it up to believing that it's at some level it's bullshit or it's not important enough to waste your time on quite yet. Hi. New life. Love it. I love it. Welcome to my life podcast. I hope you guys are comfortable, because we're just getting into our first segment, really just describing what the show is about, what my stance on astrology is, and tarot as well. But yeah, these are by far not the only reasons as to why astrology hasn't been super mainstream, but this is also explaining how it has become more recognized. Feel free, absolutely ask a question, ask away. Because I'm gonna try and take some questions towards the end of the show. So if you send your question in, just do it. It will be saved for when I am able to answer them. Yeah. It can also explain how it's becoming more recognized. We are busy, us millennials, as people call us, right? But we do find time to squeeze in subjects that arise throughout the day, slap on our Indiana hats, and do some investigating. The small information we do find is just enough to spark conversation from there. Doors open full of new data to then fact check later and eventually expand our understanding of it. I don't believe everyone needs to or should learn astrology, but if something's brought you here to sit and talk about the wonders of the world, I hope you'd indulge with me in the mystical sides too. So pretty much what I'm trying to say is that with the misconception of, oh, we're so busy, oh, we don't have time to do it. No, we always find time to research what we want to research. And the fact that maybe in the past we probably weren't as accessible to the information as we are now, right? We were busy back in the day, right? We didn't have computers and we didn't have phones that were smart enough to be able to access the internet. We didn't have quick and easy access to a computer. I don't know if some of y'all remember, a lot of the time when we wanted to use a computer, we had to go to a library. So, and if we wanted to understand something, we had to get little snippets even from the newspaper. But a lot of our world was in at least a lot of our education had to do with being in it had organizations, had structures. So it has structures. It had buildings. It had things where where knowledge was a focused area in one part of the world, right? Libraries, schools. But now it's everywhere. It's literally at our fingertips. And astrology is becoming more mainstream because now all you got to do is astrology on Google and it pops up everything. You get the whole you get a lot of information from Google. You get a lot of information now at your fingertips. So we can we have individuals out here that believe that they're too busy to do some research. But research only takes a couple minutes, so then it goes as long and as far as you want it to go. So if you need to have a quick 5-minute, research session, you can do that. But also, I kind of feel like it kind of eliminates the excuse of, oh, I don't really know about astrology. I think astrology's BS. And then, when you start cracking down and asking those questions, you're like, but did you do some research? What do you know about astrology to have an opinion about it like that? Now, not saying you can't have that opinion, but where is your basis of this perspective? Which is why it's so important to have big conversations, even if you don't have all the answers. But I feel like too, that's another conversation for another time. How we structure communication, how we communicate to others, with limited information. Do we act all macho about it and be like, well, I know everything, or are we humble and open to information? Something to think about. So anyway, who am I? Right? Who am I? Who is this person that's sitting right in front of you on your computer screens right now watching the stream about someone rambling mindlessly about astrology and tarot and how it should and shouldn't be, or what it is, or blah blah blah, right? Well, I am Sia. My real name is Serena Funderburg, and I do enjoy astrology to the depths of my world. If I meet you in person, I'm already trying to dissect to figure out what's a sign you're on. And it's not for the reasons that you think. It's not because I want to know who you are immediately. But I have found that with sun sign astrology, it's a nice little beginning portion, but it doesn't crack the surface. It barely cracks the surface. It cracks it, but not, I feel like it doesn't engulf the entire individual. No, I don't need, maybe I need your date of birth just to make sure that you are of age. But otherwise, yeah, do what you want to do. This is an adult show, everybody. So we're gonna talk about sex, and when I say we're gonna talk about sex, I mean it. Like I am planning to go into sex therapy, which will entail me to have a doctorate's degree. So that means I gotta know the body, right? I gotta understand the testicles, the penis, the breasts, the reproductive organs of a female. I gotta learn all of it, and you're gonna be learning it with me. Okay, you're gonna be with me, and it's not gonna be a cringy lecture and stuff. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and it's just gonna be a chilled out evening. It's gonna be a chilled out hour and hours and a half, for however long I decide to have these podcasts go. But it's meant to be fun. But again, who am I? I am Sia. That's how I prefer to be considered, Sia. Cosmo works too. I have it as my tarot name. You can call me Cosmo. You can call me Sia. And you're also going to see me in other areas in media, where mostly gaming and music, because I dabble in those areas. And you're going to see different names for those. I'm kind of like the Donald Glover of the internet right now. I'm just kidding. And he hasn't paid me or said anything to me in regards to mentioning his name, so don't worry, I'm not getting endorsed or anything special about that. This is totally like concept idea. You notice that he has Childish Gambino, Donald Glover, and so on. That's kind of the I've noticed in my span of kind of being more involved in social media that's kind of how my names have kind of come up. Like this, I just have different names for every area in my life. But I'm ultimately just like I'm like the sun that orbits all those names, if that makes sense. Okay, so it all depends on how I feel. But I'm someone who also values the creation and beauty of our world, who marvels and the fascinating complexities of our personality structures and the science behind our attraction behaviors and sexualities. Studying astrology for over 10 years, my passion has led me to discover my love for human relationships and intimacy. I am an astrologer, or tarot reader, a relationship coach, a sex health and sexuality enthusiast. I'm not professional, okay? I'm not an expert yet. I'm going to be, but I'm not there yet. So when we engage in conversations, guys, I want us to be in it together. Like we're holding hands. We're all students going on a field trip, and we're going to learn something awesome. And I will be right there with you. However, I'm the last person in the world to ever claim I know everything. I'm still learning as much as anybody, but I want to create a show where people who are curious and interested in seeing beyond the surface, people who strive to grow and reach a limitlessness through the exploration of life. So, despite my current platform, I'm more human than you think, with other interests that span farther than the show, but day in and day out, my mind always settles back to people relating sex and self-love. And I'm no professional in self-love either. I'm actually working on that. It's not an easy journey, but it only because, like I said before, life is what we make it. Whatever we do, or however our mindset is how we make it. For me, how I make it is hard, but I can always change that. Which is also another thing I like to talk about, which is free will. Like true free will, and the importance of noticing our power, noticing where we can alter our course of destiny, where we can change anything in our lives. If we remember, we are the controllers of the video game. We are the controllers of the game. There's no set objective unless we make a set objective. So, at least that's my perspective. You are all welcome to have your own, but that's just how I see it, and that's how I like to have conduct myself in day-to-day life. So, as a fair warning, this show will seriously tap into some seriously intimate conversation. Okay, so like I was saying before, right? Learning all this stuff about sexual organs and the endocrine system and how hormones affect us and things like that. I want to share all those things with you. I want to share what all of I discovered with you. And hopefully I'll get some sex therapists as well to be interviewed on the show as well. Because, hey, we could use some real, healthy conversation about sexuality. Because I feel like right now, when we talk about sex, it's more of like, well, I feel like because I'm being judged for having a sexual conversation, I'm going to exploit the sexual conversation to be about the unimportant aspects of sex. For instance, social media for right now, or celebrities, for instance, sex sells, sex appeal, like those things, attraction, and all those things. Like, it doesn't, to me, show sexual strength. What shows sexual strength is having communication about it, and doing so that doesn't have to be degrading. That doesn't have to feel filthy. That doesn't have to feel like you're doing something dirty. And the fact that even that feeling comes up is one I would love to eventually eliminate, because sex is such a huge part of us. We all have Scorpio, guys. We're not just one sign. We all have Scorpio in our charts. To say that sex is disgusting, dirty, and inappropriate, it's like saying that Scorpio is dirty and inappropriate, which is not. Scorpio is raw. Scorpio is pure. Scorpio is it just it is. It's the core of something. To say that something is dirty, something that's pure and core, and at the core of something is dirty, it doesn't have a good, it doesn't present a healthy place for us to talk about the things that we really probably would love to know, but we're just not in a place where we feel like we could talk about it without being judged. So this is another thing that I would love to communicate and talk more about as I go on to this series. And not only that, but discovering a lot of you guys and understanding what your sexual dynamics are, what your current situations are, and what you're curious about, what you would like to get more information on. Like for right now, I would love everybody to send me questions about their sexual encounters and things that have bothered them, that they may or may not understand and want to have more conversations about, want to get more in depth with, right? And I will do the research. And I will happily talk about it on all my segments, because I have things in sexual and urges or sexual situations in my life that I want to explore and talk about with you guys, because I don't think everything happens in a vacuum. I don't think anything happens to just one person. I think we are all connected, right? Aquarius is the collective, and I feel like we are all connected, even in situations that may be slightly different, but they're very connected. So love to share all this stuff with you guys. So that's why this just be prepared. This show probably gonna get raunchy at some point. Raunchy in the sense of we're gonna be talking about sex without filter. We're not gonna be talking about sex without the basis of judgment. It's gonna be completely non-judgmental. So if there's some topics or some kinks or some fetishes that don't really appeal to you, it's not shaming to not like it, but we're not going to be demonizing people that do. We're not going to be demonizing anybody for having a certain perspective. At least I'm not. That's not what I do. That's not what I like to do. I love to hear what people have to say. I love hearing about people's kinks, people's fetishes, people's perspectives on sex. It's even the ones that believe that you should be celibate or you should be abstinent till marriage. For those of you that may feel like that sex is dangerous, sex is awful, I want to hear all of your perspectives, because they all are valuable. So overall, I want this experience to be for everyone to be as they are, because nothing is more beautiful than being all of who you are. I feel like with all the jobs I've had in my life, even the ones that were just absolutely phenomenal as far as my former co-workers and employers, I couldn't be all of me, because on a certain level it was rejected, and for reasons that make sense. You can't tell a customer to fuck off when they spell something too fast at you, or to calm the fuck down when they misinterpret a situation because they believe they know your job better than you do. Rudeness and condescending treatment is something that I still have a problem with, and the only problem I have with it is just sitting there and taking it. I can't take it when you just spout at me bullshit and you rudeness. I want to be able to say something, even if it's completely offhand Gemini humor, witty, just a quick whatever. I like to just say it. I whatever you say, I have a response to. It's never one. I mean, I unless it's an argument and I'm passionate about it. That's the only time I'm really gonna get loud and get But if you're gonna be well, you don't know whatever. I want to be okay, because you do, right? I want to be able to say it back. Who else has that feeling? They just want to say it back. They just want to express. Like, you don't bug me, but I don't want my silence to make you feel like that you could just say whatever you want to say, because you're going to hear it. Right? Like, that's one of the things that I learned about being with, having friends and having a family and having people that you know that love you and support you and care about you. Unfortunately, when you communicate with them, you're going to have to hear what they have to say. And a lot of the times, it's not because we want to hear it, it's because we need to. Our family and our friends, they don't do or say things to us because, and this is much as me talking to myself as talking with you guys, but we don't have these relationships to be fake. We don't have these relationships to be phony. We don't have these relationships to just look at from a distance and really wish you could connect with people that you have that are connected to you already. We have them because in days and times when things get tough, we really need to hear the other side, and because we know that side is a trusted source and they're only looking out for our best interest, sometimes we just have to hear we have to hear it. Because it's better to break down with people that you love rather than break down on your own or with strangers that don't give a fuck about you. And that's one of the things that I'm learning right now in my life. And it's hard for me because, I don't know if anybody else is like this, where personally in your heart, you don't really want to express or explain anything to people because you don't want them to, one, feel like they have to help you. You don't want to make them feel like you're a burden or you're a problem junkie, if that makes sense. Like, you constantly have an issue. But then at the same time, you don't want them to feel like they can't be trusted because there's nothing that they're doing legitimately that's making them not trust you or not, like, making them not trustworthy. And then two, you do want to connect with the people that you love. You do want to have real conversations with the people that you love. So I don't know if anybody else has been dealing with something like this or has been, kind of curious about stuff like this, wanting to get a better understanding, or ultimately just want to have a better connection with everyone in their life. And the bravest and the hardest part is to be authentic. And I feel like that's a Uranus and Taurus quality. I really do. Reason being, my first house is Taurus energy, and my God, my year has been like crazy. It's been a roller coaster. It's been all these things, and one of the things I've learned so much this year is that emotions are not meant to be swallowed. Emotions are not meant to be swallowed. Your feelings are not meant to be swallowed. In the very beginning of this year, and Ravynne, Fire, and if Aquarian Insights here, they know too that I was talking from the very beginning of this year. I was saying to them, emotions don't matter. Emotions don't mean anything. Emotions are just a waste of time. That was wrong. At least from my understanding and going on that path of understanding, that was incorrect. Because my emotions were screaming to me to communicate with someone about where I'm stuck, where I have issues, where I needed to break down the barrier. Like, even this, with the podcast, going into it, I was terrified. Mainly because this was the first big project that I was excited to do, and I wanted to do really well because this is surrounding real passions that I truly enjoy. And I want this to be something that I can do for my foreseeable future. But I also, the reason why I was terrified is because I had to trust that what I knew was enough to carry me forward. And when I interact with people, I'm always reminded that I do know stuff about astrology. I'm reminded that I am a smart person. But when I'm in my own space, in my own mind, right, it's easy to go back to the repetitive conversation of, well, you don't know enough, you don't have this information. How come you're about to do something and you don't have enough research? What are you doing? So it's almost like right now we're trying to put the blinders on for our doubtful selves, because we know that part of ourselves needs the love the most. Needs most of that love. The doubt that we have is mainly because we want to protect ourselves from falling and hurting ourselves big time. But that part of ourselves truly isn't looking at it from the bigger picture, which is why I'm standing in front of y'all today, late, postponed a couple times, but still committed to making this podcast work. Still committed to making my dreams work. How many of you guys are doing this right now, where you're terrified of a certain path in a direction that you're going, and you have to shut that part of your brain off that's telling you to stop? You don't know what you're doing. You have to put the brakes on, and you're still doing it anyway. How many of you guys right now, with a show of hands, texts, F if you want to, for respects, how many of you guys are actually doing this? Because it's courageous. We just had Jupiter transition into Capricorn. Saturn is going to have its turn with transitioning if he hasn't already, which I have to check. Give me just a second. But, yeah, I'm looking it up right now as we speak, because I love it. Yeah, where's Saturn? Saturn. Yeah, Saturn is 18 degrees Capricorn right now. He's gonna have his turn this year. But like going into it, I feel like we're looking at a lot of our past mistakes, our past worries, our past things. Like it feels like what we're doing right now is we're going through and looking at our brain and dissecting the things that are not useful. And that's funny. I was talking a lot to a Capricorn friend of mine, who's double Sag, and he is such a Capricorn, but he's so Sagittarian. And what does that mean? Well, because he takes in all this information, he does all this extensive research, like he goes in deep, like he knows a lot about a lot of things. But when he really wants to know something or something that's going to propel him forward, he will look into it. That's this Capricorn and Sagittarius working together. And even though that they're a semi-sextile, they know how to they know how to work together, and like they have that sort of like aim of the arrow that the centaur typically has to describe the Sagittarius, right? When they have a goal, they go for it. They have no worries. They have no doubts. They have no fears that they're going to miss. And that is like the power of Sagittarius and Capricorn together, utilizing the knowledge that which he looked up, but also utilizes to his absolute ability, right? Capricorn is the I use portion of the zodiac. That is the I use energy. So I kind of lost my train of thought here, but like I found it so fascinating that he was able to use his energies in such a proactive and constructive way. Proactive being that he knows what is of use and what isn't of use, and he discards whatever is not of use. He will not just completely discard. He'll like push it to the side. He'll only focus on what to use. So I feel like, okay, I remember my train of thought now. Jupiter finally going into Capricorn. What we learned from an exponential amount from Jupiter, because I feel like that was the powerhouse for Jupiter. Jupiter was telling us what we needed to learn, how we needed to change our philosophy, but not necessarily because he's not about change necessarily. He is he's the god of expansion, right? He's the planet of expansion. So we were expanding our information, we were expanding our philosophies, we were expanding our belief systems, so that way we can see from what we used to know as perhaps unuseful, or where we could put use to it, but just not in the areas that we have been using it. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of door opening here. Lots of door opening. And I'm excited for it, y'all. Aside from that, we're already 15 minutes in, and I would love to start taking questions now if anybody has any. But what I also wanted to do as well is I wanted to go ahead and pull some cards for everybody, because hell, I've been craving pulling some cards, okay? I really do. The only thing is, it's just like videos, they just, I don't know. Like, I have an issue with videos, not because there's something wrong with videos. It's just that when it comes to communicating and doing them, I love doing it in front of a live audience. I love doing tarot readings where there's people around me to feed off, to hang out with the energy with me, because the energy is exciting. The energy is striking. Gonna just light some candles here. It's striking. It's just I don't want to be anybody by myself. Straight up, just be honest with you. I don't care to do it by myself. So we're gonna do this together. I'm going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot. And we're going to be pulling for all the signs. So, whose birthday is it? Sagittarius. Already coming out with the first card, y'all. Wow. So, we have Two of Pentacles. We're considering what we have right now that could potentially take us quite a long journey. Sagittarius, I feel like you're trying to figure out where you want to settle your commitments. How do you want to settle your commitments? But the thing is too, it may be that you're considering another option before considering your own emotions. What are you passionate about right now? Right? What do you want? What do you want to do? What makes you excited? What makes you feel passionate? Two of Pentacles to me is like you're trying to figure out that between two boring things. Well, I kind of like this about it, kind of like that about it, but they make me money, they provide me security, I'm attached to somebody, so I can't really like leave because this is something that provides me something, right? It all depends on whatever the circumstance is for you. No judgment either way. But I feel like with Two of Pentacles here, right, there is a lot of deciding whether or not something means something to you. If there's true value behind what you're considering. Because even this little witch here, like she's not only juggling Two Pentacles, but she's juggling herself. She's standing on a seesaw. She's standing in the center of it to keep it balanced. She's keeping everything even keel, but eventually she's gonna have to get down. And unfortunately, unless she jumps off, which doesn't really always depict which side's gonna flop which way or another, one of those is gonna teeter off. Like something has to give. All right. That's what I feel like with that seesaw. Something has to give. And I feel like it may have to do with some sort of sense of security with these options that you may believe that you are, you may see in the, down the line, but you have to ultimately make that sacrifice and take that leap of faith. So, pretty interesting, fam. Pretty interesting. Let's go on and see what's Capricorn's up to. See, now you guys have 3 major daddy planets in your sign right now. How does that feel? You have Saturn 18 degrees, Pluto 21, and then Jupiter 1 degree. That's a lot of energy. That's a lot going on there. So you guys have a huge... And they're on either ends of the spectrum as well. Like, the end of Capricorn is Pluto, the beginning is Jupiter. Like, you guys are getting spit roasted right now. Just straighten up. Just be straight up. So it just makes me feel like a lot of this sense of duty, sense of taking action is a lot heavier. Knight of Pentacles. And I don't know if you guys are all procrastinating, but I do feel like this is you guys taking strides and steps forward in a very careful manner, because you don't want to mess this up. You don't want to mess something up. Like, you being very careful. Like the Knight of Pentacles, he's not slow because he wants to procrastinate all the time. Like, that's not always the Knight of Pentacles is MO. It's Virgo. Virgo doesn't. I mean, what Virgo do you know procrastinates? Because I don't know any Virgo that does. But if they do, they don't do it forever. There's a reason for it. There's always a reason for it. And I feel like you guys are taking your time and looking at something, or there's advice for there to be time taken. Because if there's some sort of valiant, like some sort of really fast, like there's some urge to jump towards something, perhaps the situation. Yeah, see, look. Hangman, you probably won't want to trail out. You probably want to relax a little bit. and probably want to take it easy. And I'm not saying y'all are trying to jump the gun or trying to say that you accusing you guys of doing that, but I get the feeling that if you all aren't trying to calm down now, you probably want to. But I feel like too, like as much as you like to move forward, something may be holding you up as well. Maybe something is kind of like not blocking you or keeping you from exploring something or to doing some, keep you from doing some work. I feel like with the Knight of Pentacles coming up like this, and with the Hanged Man, there's just it would benefit to go over it twice, to be thorough, to be very careful, be very cautious. And you're not gonna have all the answers. That's not the point. I feel like you're supposed to go into it open mind and ready to go with what you know, and be ready to expand your knowledge, because this is not a situation where I don't think you can have all the answers, believe it or not. But I do feel like whatever's to come, there is a level of just patience with it, mostly probably with yourself. Aquarius, darlings, Aquarius. Let's see what you guys got going on. And I hadn't timestamped the last video I did. I will try to timestamp this one. I didn't even check the time before I started this, so. Alright, Aquarius, what do we got going on here? I'm not gonna lie, recently my partner had suggested a TV show to me, and it was called Rick and Morty. And through watching that show, without giving too much information about the episodes and such, I'm really starting to become more and more inclined to call Aquarians Ricks. And it's not because, you know, there's a sort of detachedness from the character that's very similar to Rick, to Aquarius. It's more of the intelligence and the hyper, like the different perspective that Aquarians typically have on life, right? It's always, like, I've never met an Aquarius that had similar views to anyone. Like, they are always very different, usually. Granted, I've only maybe met like 3 Aquarians in my life, and I know the 3 because they're pretty big in my life here. One is an ex-coworker. One is one of my best friends, and then an older friend that I have, you know, that I speak with my triple Sag, and I'm serious. He's triple Sag, moon, sun, moon, and rising, all Sagittarius. So, and they all have different perspectives. They all have viewpoints, and they all have different things that they have, you know, niches for, and things that they absolutely hate, you know. So, and it's, in my eyes, it's very unique, but it's very similar. It's very similar. So, anyway, just watch the show. If y'all, you know, I'll probably say some spoilers later on in my series, but watch the show now so that way you can be prepared for whatever spoiler I say, okay? But anyway, so you guys have the 4 of Swords, resting. Or is it coming up from a rest? Now, the 4 of Swords is a card that would depict resting, healing, rejuvenation, and it's not, those are not bad. I like that. But I feel like for a lot of you, I just feel like because Jupiter is in Capricorn and that jittery energy is there with this 4 of Swords, it's all about taking a break. Kind of feel like right now you're restless. You're absolutely restless. So Aquarius, yeah, but if it's restlessness, it almost feels like it's like you're it feels like I don't know how else to say this. It's like you have a lot of things going on. You have a lot of things that you want to do that you are doing, but you're taking the time to rest and relax enough to notice what needs to be done. It's almost like you're taking a very Capricorn approach to your resting periods. So your like the restlessness is coming when you want like that urge to just do it, because we're still in Sag season, even if Jupiter has moved into Capricorn. We're still very Sagittarian. We have that gusto. We have that the right amount of passion to push us forward to create the changes we need. But Aquarius, I feel like you're strategizing where you take your breaks. You're strategizing how you take your breaks, but you are also battling the restlessness to keep everything kind of not contained, but to like for it to make sense. Because the underlying here is Two of Pentacles. So there's a level of balancing that you're doing with resting. So it's like, it's really weird. It feels like it's restlessness, but you're also at peace, or you're working on being at peace by doing something that honors you. So it's quite lovely. I'm not taking personal readings, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to pull cards for questions necessarily. If you do want a question from me, please take a look in my description box. I have a lot of areas, a lot of avenues in which you can reach me for a tarot reading. But I'm mainly pulling for just the signs right now. If you have questions like about astrology, about sex, about relationships that you want to ask, do so. I just won't be pulling cards for it. I may do it sometime in the future. Today, that's not my motivation. Okay, so Pisces. Pisces, what's up? What y'all doing out here? Ten of Swords. Oof. Putting an end to an end. Okay, I see how that is. Wow, with Lovers too. So you guys are done. You guys are really done with something that hasn't been bringing you the happiness that you've been looking for, but you know exactly what does make you happy. You know exactly what will make you happy. And I feel like you guys have honestly made the conscious effort. You made the conscious effort to end whatever it was that wasn't making you happy. You're ready to just go on about your merry way. It's almost like right now you did the hard part. You've gone through the hard part. And now it's about living the life that you want to live. It's about following what your heart has been dying for you to follow. And it's in the direction of what makes you happy. It was in the direction of what fills your heart with whimsical joy. For some of you, it may be to do with a relationship. Perhaps there was some person that you've been really wanting to connect with, and you've broken the ice. You've communicated with them, and you've went down that road where there is no return. Right? You've changed ultimately. Some of you guys is much bigger than that. It's perhaps a career. It's perhaps a career path in which where you're going and expanding yourself a lot more because you're doing what you love to do. I feel like that's quite incredible. Quite incredible. I feel like the biggest thing though with the Ten of Swords and the Lovers is just remembering, for those of you that may have just ended something, that the end has happened. It's done. It's over. And be careful not to let yourself drown in what is no longer, because as much as the heart is noticed in the Lovers, the mind is also recognized too. It is Gemini's card. So that's why Gemini has their reputation of being flip-floppy and moody, because they're debating with their mind and debating with their heart all the time. They're having conversations between them all the time. And right now, for you guys, which you guys are the true sign of duality, right? Gemini is duality too, but you guys had the card that represented duality, and you're a sign of duality. It can always go either way. You have absolute 100% for control of perspective of which your ending has happened. It's just how you perceive it now. How will you go about moving forward with that? Will you let yourself continue to strive and grow despite what is no longer, right? With the space that you created? Or is the pain of what you've lost, the pain of something ending so much so that it's hard for you to even consider moving towards something that you love? It's a hard question. Let's take a look at Aries. Ooh, Knight of Pentacles. Ooh. So that's interesting. Why do we have that? Okay, I had a feeling that's where that was going. You guys are addicted to being alone right now. You kind of like it, just kind of addicted to it. And I say addicted to it because I mean, like, you know, it's just you. The only person you got to worry about. You never really have to over-explain something because you can understand it yourself. You don't have to go down that rabbit hole, someone else not getting it. And ultimately, it's just more reassuring because you don't have to worry about other judgments. You don't have to worry about people judging you. You don't have to worry about outside influence. It's purely you and what you have to offer for yourself. And it's nice. It's comfortable. But at the same time, it's boring. Okay? You're bored, too. Like, there's a level of independence that you absolutely don't want to get rid of, right? But there's a element of seclusion, too, that you've grown to admire. But through that, you know, seclusion, the spice kind of just gets reused, right? Because it's your spice. Nothing wrong with your spice. But the growth, the expansion, doesn't happen in the Nine of Pentacles. Devil, that doesn't happen either. So, and like, I don't know if you guys want to break out and have more of a fulfilling life, right? To just have more of something colorful, nothing that's just kind of bleak and, as you know, just like, you don't hate yourself. You don't want to degrade yourself. And it's not about you per se, but you can only provide yourself with so much, right? So far, you've got all that you can give yourself. But like, the connection and the connection with others, the relationships that you build with others, that propels you forward, and it probably will knock you out of a lot of the reasons as to why getting outside of that comfort zone, no longer like dabbling into the realm of dating or interacting with people or friends and coworkers, that may feel daunting and huge, because you know you have created a safety net for yourself that has no judgment, that you have, like, it's learning how to deal with people again. It's almost like, one of the things too I've noticed is that you may be feeling single in a current relationship. Like, I don't know if a lot of you guys are experiencing feeling lonely in a relationship, but this would suggest it. But I don't really know if this is something that you don't like. I don't know if this is something that you don't desire. Some of you guys, when I say loneliness in a relationship, I don't mean this as something that it's a sense of pity or sadness. I kind of get a derivative of, you have a partner that doesn't make you feel like you're in a relationship, so you can be all that you are without having to worry about, you know, dating or anybody else. Like, you could just be okay, and they don't try, and they don't do anything. So some of you guys may just be comfortable with a relationship right now that either doesn't have a specific status that gives you that feeling that you're still single, but you are connected with someone, or you are emotionally drawn to someone, but you have this persona of just being cool with being single. Okay, so we got a lot of stuff going on here. Lots of stuff. Okay. Interesting reading for Aries there. Interesting. Let's go ahead and talk to Taurus. Taurus, what's up? Doing like that, Queen of Pentacles. You guys are taking matters into your own hands right now. Working with what you have. Being very resourceful. The Queen of Pentacles is so resourceful. But I feel like you're utilizing what you have. Don't worry. My boyfriend just got home, actually. My partner. Thank you, honey. Hey, Starbucks. We are not endorsed by Starbucks. Just saying. Not trying to interrupt Taurus's reading now. You guys just flew right out. Queen of Pentacles. You guys are being very resourceful, but you're also, I think, you're tapping into the feminine energy that is of Taurus, which is coming up here through expression, emotional expression. I feel like it's happening in little itty bitty ways. It's gradual comfort. It's gradual effort put in to be emotionally available to express how you feel with others. I feel like you are putting yourself in a position where you can not only show and give the space for people to be as open and comfortable with you as as they can be, but also that for yourself. Most importantly, I feel like you are creating a utopia or a safety net for yourself to be emotionally open, to express your feelings, to communicate what you need, to communicate or discover and to recognize your emotions at the very least, because I think so, like I said, as a Taurus rising, I've been going on my life with emotions don't matter, put your head down and do the work. But that doesn't work. It is not a healthy way of looking at life. It's not a healthy way to do anything. And I feel like with my understanding of emotions don't matter, emotions deserve to be suppressed, it caused a volcano to be created inside of me. So now every time I have serious arguments with somebody, I pop off. I get angry. I get unnecessarily emotional because I haven't let myself be that emotional. So Taurus, I feel like you are learning or allowing yourself to be more emotional in small ways, personally perhaps, and not sharing it with people. But you're doing something that's going to ultimately make you feel like you're not the wild beast that was created after so many years of holding back all that anger, all that, aggression, all that displeasure and this happiness. I don't think that's a word. Unhappiness. All right. Gemini. Let's get on with the Gemini. Let's see what's up. Oh, wow. We are reevaluating things. We're putting some things on, not necessarily on hold, but we're looking at things. We're looking at things and we're taking a moment to be like, okay, well, how far have we come? What have we actually gotten from all of this? Because you guys have been putting in some work to some degree, but you're taking a moment to really consider things. Like, you're considering details now. Like, there's something really, there's something very significant that you really want to take some time on, to really kind of make sure this is the direction in which you want to go. I feel like it's because they're huge steps, and they're very, very big steps that you've already, you're already willing to kind of put yourself through. It's just like, if they're like the plateau of it, like, do you want to continue to put all that effort in and potentially change your mind? The Eight of Wands. Wow. Yeah, it's almost like you're pumping the brakes. Taking it slow. You just like, hold on a second, because you have already pushed forward so much, and I don't think there was really hardly any resistance. Like, if you got Eight of Wands here with the Seven of Pentacles, it almost feels like everything was propelled forward, like everything was pushed quickly without having to worry about the due process. Like, something was accelerated way faster than you realized, which is why you're having these moments of like, do I really want to do all this? Because I don't know if some of you guys have fully committed to it yet. Some of y'all may have committed to it, some of y'all may have not. And which is why you're like, what is this? Taking some time to review, to reevaluate the direction in which you're going. Because I feel like whatever something's going, it's been going quite quickly. And I think this is like the only time now where you're like, whoa. And two, I kind of get this vibe too that for some of you guys with the Seven of Pentacles, there may be something that you have been doing, that you have had your head down, you have been working really hard, and you've reached a point where there's nothing really to do. And right now, what's only left is waiting, because the work is to be done. It's just like, right now, just, I feel like right now, focus on like what your needs are, continue to communicate, but ultimately there's either reevaluating or there's patience needed, because something was going really quickly, really fast, and now you just have like all this time to waste. It's almost like you had planned out, like, let's use this as an example. You planned out like a 7-course meal, right? And then all those meals were going to take you 4 hours. Somehow, without any help, you did all of that by yourself under 2. So you have to kind of like wait for all your guests to come in, because it's kind of too late now to change, when the start of the party will be for them to all eat. So that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from it. So it's like, whatever you did, it left room for space to do something else. And it's like, you don't really know what to do with it, because everything else was going in such a fast direction. You're kind of like, what happened there? What dropped off? But I feel like the direction may not be about what dropped off, but it probably has to do with what can you pick up in the meantime. Perhaps, right, while you're sitting there after making that 7-course meal, there could be something like, you could be cleaning the house. You could be, putting the chairs away, or you could be, putting your socks and shoes in the proper places that they should be. There's something to do that may have nothing to do with the exact the objective directly, but it will help you indirectly later on. I don't know if hopefully that makes sense. Cancer. What we got, yo? What we got for Cancers up here? What's going on? Alright. We have, the Empress. Empress. Why do we have the Empress here? Because of the Four of Pentacles. Four of Cups. Wild. Now the Empress is a creative energy, right? She's very creative. She's the mother, for crying out loud. I mean, if she don't create babies, then who does? You know what I'm saying? Someone's gotta push them out. Someone's gotta go through the whole 9 months of making sure the thing is ready to go. So, Cancer, I don't know if you guys are trying to have a child, or you guys are being someone's parent where it shouldn't be. And I say this as gently as I can, because I know how easy it can be to want to care for your person. Is the care for the person perhaps one that other people may not recognize? And it's weird, right? I'm like, perhaps there's some sort of care, some sort of love, some sort of extension to yourself that you've been trying to. I feel like you've been trying to take care of somebody. I feel like you've been really putting the effort into nurturing and taking care of someone. But there may not be a lot of recognition that you're doing that. I feel like it completely either goes unrecognized, unnoticed, or unappreciated. It could even be unappreciated, unrecognized, and noticed for yourself. Perhaps if you're not taking care of yourself. But I feel like with Empress coming up like this, there is someone here that is somebody is seen as the mother, the caretaker, someone the nurturer. Hey. And I feel like with the Empress, I feel like there is someone in your life right now that you care deeply for, that you want to create a future with, but they don't notice what you're doing, and it's killing the vibe. It's really killing the vibe. It's honestly becoming more of a turnoff. It's almost like, not because like you're putting a lot of effort in, it's just that they just don't notice it. Some of you guys, it may be that you don't quite see how it can move forward. This is your underlying energy, right? Because it's like you've already done certain things. You've already, went down a certain path with them, and you're kind of like, what do I do with this, right? And I feel like with Empress, it may be that, right, like through that recognition of the repeats in your life and the constant, cycle that you've been going into, or you have noticed that you've kind of got caught into, perhaps, is that the focus is you taking care of yourself. I feel like you guys are noticing that, and you guys have been taking care of yourself. Some of you guys have really been like recognizing where people have been undervaluing you, and the only person that needs the care and love and that can appreciate it truly is you. You take care of you. You give yourself gratitude for it, and therefore people will notice the love and support that you give them. Not because you're doing this because you want to take care of them, but because you truly do have room and space to take care of people. Because you guys are the healers, man. You guys are heal people. You guys can heal people. And if you have been trying to heal a significant other, and it just feels like all efforts haven't been effective, it's probably because there's an element to you that you have to tap into for yourself, right? Taking care of you is what's open the door for true healing. The emotional gateway is when you take care of yourself. The emotional gateway opens. Leo, what's good? When Leo is up next and you sit on your bed like this. You're so crazy, Ravynne. You are so crazy. But I feel like that too with Libra. I'm like, what's it gonna say about me? Is it gonna tell my secrets? That's probably my Taurus room, the Taurus rising, saying that. So y'all have the Two of Wands rather, with the King of Pentacles underneath the look at that underlying energy is Two of Pentacles. I love it. So you have somebody in your life that could be very significant, or you are looking at yourself from a very financial perspective. Like you're being practical about your means of health, of means of finances, of your stability on your life, self-esteem. And I feel like there is the attempt to master the earth energy, right? Organization, stability, of support, something grounding, right? And I feel like you're trying to figure out the way to do it. I have news for you, Leos. There's no way. There's no concise way. There's no right or wrong direction, which is even more of a push to just do what you need to do. Because the King of Pentacles, he don't procrastinate. He's too good to procrastinate. He's too good to pass up opportunities that could potentially make him richer. Not saying he's a workaholic or a martyr or someone that's in love with money or something like material goods, because he does all that he does for the love of the people that he has surrounding him. He does this for his family. He doesn't do anything for the financial aspect of it. He does it for the stability, the practical sense. So Leos, you may be tapping into an aspect of yourself where money, finances, career are a big focus for you right now. And the direction and where you want to go doesn't necessarily matter. As long as you start somewhere, just do it, you'll be good. Because you already have great ideas. You already have things in place. King of Pentacles is never unprepared. And I honestly feel like there isn't really anything to think about. Because the fact that there's no sword energy coming up in here tells me that there's nothing to think about. Nothing. So what are you thinking about? What are you really looking at? The possibilities or the areas in where, you could get hurt. Now, too, I'm not gonna lie. It could be that there's somebody that shows real support, that's very, very reliable, who has been very consistent in their own right, perhaps financially consistent. I have no idea, but I do have a feeling that the Two of Wands is like figuring out a way to get to them, right? What direction to go as far as creating a committed relationship, because the King of Pentacles is committed. He is solid in his relationships. So it's about, I guess, how you proceed forward with a relationship. How can you grow together? Interesting reading this time, Leo. Some of you guys also may be abroad from the person that you're seeing, because the world was in that as well. Okay, Virgo. Virgo just popping out with their card immediately. Look at that. Six of Pentacles. We have got to look at this. Actually. Ace of Pentacles. Ravynne, you're not triggered at all, huh? I mean, hey, I saw, and there was a lot more from what it was telling me. I have time to consider, Ravynne, okay? But trust me, girl, when I pull you a personal reading, we gonna get into it. Don't worry, I got you, boo. So yeah, we always threaten each other with good readings. So anyway, Ace of Pentacles and the Six of Pentacles for Virgo, nice. I feel like you guys are really working on making sure things are really balanced in your life before making decisions or making steps forward. Ace of Pentacles is the beginning of something that has the potential to be greatly substantial, or lead to something that can be a platform to stand on, if that makes sense. Something that's solid, something that's you can that's like I said, reliable, a good platform. And the Ace of Pentacles is the very beginning, where you're starting off, and I feel like how you begin by having a prosperous future, and how you can grow a prosperous future mainly is by nicking out the things that are not balanced with you, or figuring out where there are cooperations, where there are things that do move, that do work together, that work with you, that give you something back. So I do feel like with the Six of Pentacles for you, Virgo, that the importance of receiving is so big here, because where you move forward, how you move forward, will depend on what you not necessarily require of others, but what you get from others. Because if you're putting a lot of work into something with people, that's not a dynamic that's healthy. That's not a dynamic that shows that everyone's working as a team, right? And I feel like you are definitely hyper aware of that. But I feel like you're taking this seriously. Like you're seeing you're seeing where it can't be beneficial to just work all by yourself, even if someone is not contributing. You're noticing to where people truly want to push you and help you to get to your best interest. It's pretty straightforward. What are my thoughts on Bitcoin? Well, I don't really know much about Bitcoin, to be honest with you. I did read a little something about it, but as far as Bitcoin goes, it has the potential to be very dangerous. But again, I haven't looked into it too much to really have any sort of supporting argument for what I just said. So I don't really know. But that's a different conversation for a different topic. Okay, for a different time. All right, Libra. Let's see what we got. Libra. Okay, Libra. You got the same card that Taurus got, or was it Aries? It was Aries. Aries got the Nine of Pentacles. Why we got the Nine of Pentacles? Because of the moon. Oh, shoot. Alright, guys. So this is a pretty big message. And this is pretty big for me, too. Because I feel like right now, where we could really get stuck is where something's familiar, where something's comfortable, but is never changing. Nine of Pentacles energy is very similar to Four of Pentacles. Is never changing. You can do whatever you want to do in there, rearrange it all you want to. But the situation is this. Like, the stuff doesn't change until we tap into what makes us freak out in the first place. The moon is where we look at our fears. It's not necessarily like this is the fear card, but this is the card that would express confusion, delusions even, maybe, or discomfort in the unknown, the unfamiliar. There's some things that you may misinterpret from this energy, from the moon. Like if you notice, right, this little cat is looking at himself, and he's thinking that he's seeing a panther looking right back at him. He sees a more vicious version of himself, but the concept of the moon is not to see the most vicious version of yourself, but it's to see what part of yourself that you are afraid of, what part of yourself that you may not necessarily see completely, that you may misconstrue as something else where it needs more love, where you are the person that is seeing yourself in a way that is not really representative of necessarily who you are, but it does represent how you have been, where the pain may be resonating, right? If you, like, for instance, fear comes from somewhere, and it comes from something internal. The moon is an expression of is an internal energy. So, to me, I feel like with the moon coming up with the Nine of Pentacles, it's easy, and it's very, very easy for these two energies to be going hand in hand as far as like, oh, you know what? Outside looks scary. I won't be doing that. But for some reason, too, Libra, I kind of feel like you're noticing as well that the Nine of Pentacles is feeding an unrealistic illusion that's worse than even the outside world. That's worse than facing the triggers. Like, we are living in fake utopia. Faketopia. We're living in faketopia right now. And the only way we break from faketopia is by facing the reason why we are afraid to live beyond. To see beyond. What are the fears? What are the things that make us uncomfortable? Noticing where our innermost selves are trying to alarm us of discomfort, because we're looking elsewhere for possibilities. I feel like life has gotten so boring because we would because there's some sort of feeling to stick to a status quo, or stick to a certain way of being, or to just be safe, be comfortable. And it doesn't always like derive happiness in my eyes, because the moon is suggesting that there's some sort of confusion. Things are not clear to us. But the way we gain that clarity is by leaving this. Because as much as we would like to figure it out for ourselves in our little quiet space, we only have as much information that we put there from being outside of that comfort zone in the first place. The information that we have in our mind can only expand from reaching out. And you don't have to necessarily talk to people, but like that means looking and doing research and exploring like the ideas, the doubts, all these things can be debunked. And I feel like you're noticing that they can be debunked, and you want them to be debunked. It's not like it's something that you guys are like a go-to, hell yeah, let's do this shit. But it's like, in order for me to actually feel like I have a life, to actually feel like I'm living, I have to put myself in a position where I'm not always comfortable, to expand my understanding, to consider that the world can be way better than I have imagined it to be, because of where I see myself. Pretty big message. All right. Last but not least, my Scorpio sisters and brothers. Okay, let's get it. Scorpio, what do you have for us? What do you have for us? Ooh, the 10 of Wands. And the 9 of Wands. Oof. That's a really big message, y'all. The reason why it's so big in my eyes is because we're already tapping into the two ends. We're tapping to the very end of Wands energy for Scorpios. It's almost like I feel like you guys are really, really pushing hard for something, but you're ready to kind of throw in the towel. Like, you're done. And I know it's like a very pessimistic view of it, but it's not like that. I feel like you're noticing where your strengths are. You're noticing what things matter, what doesn't. And I feel like with the 10 of Wands, like, it meant something to you at some point to do something, to carry a burden, or to push beyond the limits of comfort. But I feel like there is this part of you that's tired of putting so much effort into that. which is why we reached the Ten of Wands, right? There's something here that has completed itself, or that is in the process of completing itself. We're at the end of Wands, so this is it. And the work continues on, as you see, the carrying of the burdens, the working hard, the pushing forward. And it's because you've shown yourself and you've proven to yourself that you can rely on yourself through and through. The defensiveness is showing you is reliability. Nine of Pentacles is reliability. It's sticking to the task no matter how hard it gets. However, I do feel like you guys are exhausted. You're tired, and you still push on because ultimately where you're going, what you're doing is truly following a part of yourself that is screaming and desiring for expression. If you love something, you express it. And I feel like Scorpio, you guys are fighting to you're fighting to express who you are. You're fighting to be all that you are. And it's hard to do right now because you have been doing it for so long. You've been doing this for so long and you're very adamant about it. And it doesn't show lack of commitment or reliability if what you've been putting into has reached its max. Interesting. But I also get this feeling like for some of you guys it maybe applied to some things, but I also get the vibe of some of you guys, there's something that, there's nothing to really give up yet. There's something further. You're at the end of their quest. I don't think necessarily it's saying to throw in the towel. Now that I think about it, I don't think it's no longer think it's saying that perhaps you need to just drop it. I feel like what it's saying actually is you've come so far now, you may as well continue to keep going. You continue to fight for this. You keep going. You're at the end of it now to finally be able to have that break that you've been looking for. And it's going to be well deserved, and it's going to feel so good because you didn't give up. But I feel like you're at that point where you're ready to drop everything, just ready to just be done with it, but you're so close. You're too close now. You're almost there. You are there. Look at that, the sun. See all that there is because all is illuminated. Pretty interesting message. Well, this has been one hell of a first live stream, a live podcast. I'm excited to kind of do this every week. I'm excited to provide content every week like this that will be eye openers. That would be fun. That would be chill. I thank all of you guys for being here with me. I thank all of you guys for being patient with me with changing the times that I was going to be going live. And I'm still fleshing out everything. But I do appreciate all the people that have been sticking with me up until this point. And continuing to be ready to go with me on the journeys that I go on. Because this one, I feel like it's going to be something I do for quite some time. So, I love you. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week. I'm gonna post on Facebook when my schedules will be. I don't know if speaking of that, I don't know if I'll be on next week, but you know what? I'm going to work on a schedule anyway, the times that work best for me to have the live streams, so that way we can have them more consistently without having so much postponing and rearranging of the times and things. But love you guys. Take care, and I will see you guys on the other side. Bye, y'all. Love you too, Ravynne.